Hi Bowl Bakers! In Ireland we are extremely fortunate to have access to some of the greatest produce in the world. I was very lucky growing up to have a mammy who taught me how to cook. She made everything from scratch every single day, which is pretty incredible considering she had 5 children. My mum always said that one of the greatest gifts you can give a child is to teach them how to cook. And that's definitely one of the reasons why I'm here in front of you every single week. With my mum's permission, I am allowed to share with you her traditional Irish soda bread recipe, so let's get baking. So to make a good Irish soda bread, we're going to start out in a large bowl. Now the reason you want a large bowl is because you're going to go in with your hand and bring all your dough together. Our first ingredient for our soda bread is whole wheat flour. Now this is an important one because it's a brown soda bread. I have a very finely ground flour here, but you can use a coarser whole wheat flour, that's no problem at all. So our next ingredient is white flour. Now for my Irish soda breads, I like to use half whole wheat flour and half white flour. Some people use 100% whole wheat flour, which is fine, but for me, I've never had success with that and I find it too. Into our dry ingredients, I'm going to add in some cold cubed butter. Now all you want to do is go in with some clean hands, or you can use a fork and just rub it into your dry ingredients until it resembles fine breadcrumbs. Now the reason that we do this is because it does give your bread a little bit of different texture and make it a little bit lighter. I really like making doughs that you can get stuck into and you can feel what's going on, because I find it always yields the best results. And that's it, your butter's all rubbed in, little bits and small bits. So we're going to set this aside and just mix together our wet ingredients. In a separate jug, we're going to add in our buttermilk. Buttermilk is a very important ingredient in Irish soda bread, but I also know it's not accessible in a lot of countries. So on biggerbolderbaking.com, I put up a really easy recipe of how you can make it yourself. Into your buttermilk, we're going to add in an egg. Not everybody adds in an egg to an Irish soda bread, but I find that it makes the dough a lot richer. I got this egg from the farmer's market and you can tell because the yolk is really orange. Do you see that? It's gorgeous. So now we're going to add our wet ingredients into our dry ingredients. So with a spatula, what I like to do is to make a well in the middle of my dry ingredients to make way for my buttermilk. And then just pour in your liquid. So now this is the fun part. You're going to go in with a big open hand and we're just going to bring all of the dough together. It is really fast, a little bit messy, but that's okay. So just go around the bowl. Do it as fast as you can because the less that you mess with this dough, the less that you handle it, the lighter your bread will be. This bread is actually considered a quick bread because it is so quick to pull together and it requires no yeast. Now as you can see, after a few seconds our dough is already coming together and we're not kneading, we're just kind of forming. Now look, we're getting to that stage where we've almost got a clean bowl. You know I like that stage, that means we're on the right track. So I'm just going to take the dough off my fingers and at this stage turn it out onto my countertop. As you can see, we've got a lovely clean bowl, which is what I'm always looking for when I make a dough. All we're doing now is just forming the dough. We're not kneading it. Irish soda bread does not need to be kneaded. We're just bringing it together. So if you want to just give it a little bit of a squish, so just bring it together with your hands. Any wrinkles on top, that's totally fine. Remember, it is a rustic homemade bread. It's perfect. All we're doing is just giving it a nice round shape. Now that we have our lovely shape, I'm just going to, with a floured hand, pat down the bread to around 1.5 inches thick. And there you go, that's it. So now our bread is ready to be put on our baking tray. Generously flour your baking tray and then gently place on your Irish soda bread. A very important part before our bread goes into the oven is to score the bread. You know the traditional Irish soda bread has that kind of cross? Well, that actually is a blessing of the bread. So you're going to take a knife and actually bless your bread. So you kind of go in the name of the Father, the Son, and you push the knife right down. You go over to the other side and it's the Holy Ghost. Amen. And if you can see that cross there, that is the blessing of the bread. So you always do that for traditional Irish soda bread. After you bless the bread, there's one more important thing, and is to release the fairies. So you want to go into each corner of the bread and poke a hole with a knife. And what this does is release the fairies in your bread so they won't curse your bread. You'll end up with a beautiful loaf of Irish soda bread. You always want to glaze your bread before it goes into the oven. Now, I never like to crack a whole egg just to glaze one loaf. It drives me crazy. So what my mammy used to do, and she taught me very well, is to actually just use a little bit of what's left over in your buttermilk eggy jug. So put that on your hands and then just glaze your loaf like this. Saves you wasting an egg and you still get a lovely golden crust on your bread. Thank you, Mammy Stafford. For a finishing touch, my mum used to always sprinkle oats on top of her Irish soda bread, so I'm going to do the same. And there you have it, our beautiful Irish soda bread, just like my mammy's. It is such a fast bread to make, that's why it's made in houses all over Ireland every single day. We're going to bake our bread at 425 degrees Fahrenheit or 210 degrees Celsius for 15 minutes to get a lovely crust. Then we're going to turn the oven down and continue baking until it's ready. There's a very familiar smell in the air right now because although I'm very far away from home, my kitchen smells just like my kitchen growing up in Ireland. Look at that beautiful loaf of bread. You can see that soda bread actually rises up quite a lot when it bakes. You end up with a nice big loaf. Here you can see our lovely cross. Some characteristics that you want to see from your soda bread is a nice crispy crust. Do you hear that? How you get that is keeping the oven door shut at all times while baking. It keeps in the air, keeps in the steam, gives you that lovely crust. Also, if you're ever wondering if your bread is baked enough, turn it over and do the tap test. If it sounds hollow like this one does, that means it's baked. All in all, this is a beautiful loaf of soda bread. My mom used to make this for us almost every day and we would have it with homemade soup. The great thing about soda bread is that plain or dressed up, it's just such a lovely bread to have anytime. I like to eat my brown bread simply with Irish butter and jam, but no matter how you serve it, you can't go wrong. Happy St. Patrick's Day or Lá Féile Pádraig. If you want to see more of my mum's traditional Irish recipes, then head over to my website because she shared some fantastic ones over there. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you back here next Thursday for more bigger, bolder baking. And I'm gonna put a little jammy jam on there. Delicious. Hi Bowl Bakers! So the weather is starting to heat up here in Los Angeles, so we are going to start making frozen desserts. I have tons of stuff planned for the summer, but I thought we would kick things off with a homemade sorbet that you do not need an ice cream machine to make. So let's get started. So to make sorbet my way is really straightforward. All you need is some fruit and condensed milk. I'm going to talk you through the process as I go, just so you can understand why I'm doing what I do. So to make my sorbet, I'm going to use my food processor, but you can also use a blender. That works really well too. The first sorbet that we are making is a lovely raspberry flavor. So the main ingredient for our sorbet is frozen fruits. I have some lovely raspberries here. And the reason that I have them frozen is because it gives you a really lovely thick texture to your sorbet, which is actually what the ice cream machine would do. So we're replacing that by using frozen berries. You can use fresh fruit to make the sorbet, but the mixture just doesn't get as thick, but it will work. Our next very important ingredient is sweetened condensed milk. Now I like to use fat-free version because I find it a little less sweet. So the reason that I use condensed milk is that it's very important when you're making frozen desserts that your sugar is liquid. And by doing that, it means that it will stop ice crystals from forming and also makes your sorbet or your frozen yogurt or whatever very scoopable. Now I understand that in some countries you can't buy condensed milk, but you can make it, and you can also make a dairy-free condensed milk, and I have both of those recipes on my website. So on with our lid. So far it's been pretty easy. And now all we're going to do is blend it for around 3 to 4 minutes. You just want to get it really nice and smooth. While it's blending, you will notice that it clumps up a bit, but just let it keep going and it will eventually smooth out. Once you can see your sorbet is smooth, then take off the lid and just look at that. Beautiful homemade sorbet. Look how smooth it is and the beautiful vibrant color as well. Oh, it's yummy. There's a little bit of kind of sharpness from the raspberries, but it's lovely and sweet as well. So we're going to get this guy straight into our freezable container. For a lot of my frozen desserts, I love to use these containers. They're really easy, and the link can be found on my website, biggerbolderbaking.com, along with the recipes for the sorbet. Fill your container to the top with your frozen raspberry sorbet. And I like to top it off with some fresh raspberries to make it look extra pretty. To finish our sorbet off, I have these lovely homemade labels, and you can find the template for this on my website also. And that's it. Could not be simpler homemade sorbet. Now it'll take around 4 hours to freeze, but it will last in your freezer for up to 6 weeks. When you think of sorbet, you think of lovely fresh flavors, and that's exactly what our next sorbet is. It's cantaloupe and mint. Into our food processor goes our frozen cantaloupe. Now I actually chopped and froze this cantaloupe myself, but you can always buy some in the stores. Onto our cantaloupe goes our condensed milk. As you notice, the sorbets are made of just fruit and condensed milk, so feel free to use any fruit that you have yourself or any that you prefer. Into our cantaloupe, we're going to add in our fresh mint. Just scatter it all around there. Now just on with our lid and then blend until it's lovely and smooth. I love to use frozen fruit in my desserts because in some countries you can't get all fruit, but usually you can buy it frozen, which really helps. Okay, it's looking nice and smooth, so I'm going to stop it. And look at that. It's a really beautiful colour. I can smell the mint coming out of the machine. It's really smooth, lovely and thick. Oh, yummy. It's a little bit creamy. It tastes really fresh. The mint complements it really well. You can use other melons too. I don't recommend watermelon because it's very liquidy, but this works really well. Once your sorbet is blended, get it straight into your container. Add a sprig of mint on top of your sorbet for some extra colour, and then finish it off with your lovely homemade label. Just look at what a beautiful colour that sorbet is, and it tastes fantastic. We're going to pop this guy in the freezer and get started on our next flavour. Personally, I absolutely adore lime in my desserts. It is such a refreshing flavour. That's why our next sorbet is strawberry and lime. Just like before, into our food processor, we're going to add in our frozen strawberries. Then we're going to add in some zest of a fresh lime. I can't get enough of lime, and usually you would pair it with tropical fruits, which works really well. But if you've ever had strawberries and lime, it is just out of this world. And then also, another little tip, bananas and lime. Oh man. Okie dokie, into this we are going to add in our condensed milk. On with our lid, and then you know the drill. Blend it up until it's nice and smooth. I am really excited for the big and bold desserts that I've got planned for the summer. So to make sure you don't miss out on any, then don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Looking good. Beautiful. Give it a little taste as always. Oh, it's delicious. Lime has such a unique flavour. I just adore it. Fill your container with your sorbet all the way to the top. This is going to make a fantastic treat on a hot day. I like to place a fresh strawberry on top and then grate on some more lime zest for colour and flavour. I'm calling this fruity flavour Sublime Strawberry. Even just the smell of this sorbet is insane. But we can't stop here, we're going to move on to our next flavour. Our next sorbet flavour is a bit of a tropical double whammy. It is mango and passion fruit. Pop your frozen mango into your food processor. For your passion fruit, you can buy purees in store or you can use fresh like I'm going to do. I just wanted to show you what a beautiful fruit this is. And if you think it looks good, just imagine what it tastes like. If you are going to use fresh passion fruit, then just pass it through a sieve to remove any of those seeds. In with our condensed milk to add that lovely sweetness. Another sorbet ready, and then process until smooth. If you can't find passion fruit, you can always just have the mango by itself, or you can add in some lime zest. That would be delicious. Look what a gorgeous vibrant yellow this sorbet is. Oh my gosh, it tastes delicious. These two flavors complement each other so well. Scoop your sorbet straight into your container. As a little added touch, I like to add some fresh passion fruit on top. Aptly named Passion for Mango, because that's exactly what I have. We're going to pop this guy in the freezer and get on to our next decadent flavor. Our next sorbet flavor is a little bit different because it is less fruity and more rich and decadent. It is chocolate and banana. Add your frozen bananas into your food processor. I actually slice and freeze my bananas myself because I always like to have some in the freezer so I can add them into my recipes. Next, we're going to add in our unsweetened cocoa powder. The better quality cocoa you use, the better, always. In with our condensed milk. That's a gorgeous sight. Condensed milk flowing down the cocoa powder. I don't know at what point we started to realise that bananas and chocolate work really well together, but I'm glad we did. Ooh, this looks delicious. Look at how velvety smooth that is. When you blend up bananas, they get really thick and kind of silky. That's why it works really well for sorbet. Fill your container with your rich and decadent sorbet. I like to place some fresh banana on top and sprinkle over some chocolate flakes.